So when the family approached us back in 2012, neuroscience research in Manchester was very fragmented, I would say. So there was a lot of people doing bits here and there. So lots of discovery science, basic science at the university, including people at our own group working on stroke, mainly ischemic stroke, which is a clot rather than a bleed. And there was bits and pieces round about the place. And there was a very good clinical service across the Salford Royal, which Adrian is based at. And Manchester has, which many people probably don't realise, Manchester has the biggest neuroscience centre in terms of clinical, probably in Europe. So there's only one neuroscience centre for the whole of Greater Manchester. So if you have a neurological condition, which includes stroke, you will go through Salford Royal, no other hospital. And that's very unusual to have one centre that takes every patient. So that's about 3.2 million population. So about 6 years ago, myself and Andy King, who's a neurosurgeon, and several people at the university discussed this, and I thought, we're missing a trick here. We're not capitalising on the strengths we've got in terms of the hospital and the university. So we felt we needed to create a brand, if you like. We believe, and it's similar to how the Kate Moss has developed the brand. And then we created the Brain Research Centre. Rather than just call ourselves Neuroscience Manchester, we created a thing called the Geoffrey Jefferson Brain Research Centre. Geoffrey Jefferson was actually a professor, the first ever professor of neurosurgery in the UK back in the 1920s. He trained in Manchester. He was very a Manchester story. He actually went on, as well as doing neurosurgery, he worked with Alan Turing on AI back in the 50s, believe it or not. So he was an incredible individual who we felt was appropriate to honour in terms of naming the centre. There is no physical centre, so that's my dream. The dream is to raise enough money to build a state-of-the-art neuroscience hospital, to be honest. It's a research centre. But that was really the focus, to bring it together and to focus on a few key areas. A major one being stroke. So we have a major interest in ischemic stroke, particularly, and that had been running for many years. So Nancy Rothwell, who some of you know the name, Nancy was the president of the university and just retired this summer. She set up the group that I now lead. She set it up in the early 90s. And the focus was completely on ischemic stroke, on inflammation and how that contributes towards stroke caused by a clot. And then that, until we were approached by the family, we didn't work on hemorrhage very much at all. Adrian was beginning to develop some work, but we had no real focus in that area, and that changed dramatically through the engagement with the trust and bringing PhD students on board and then just building more and more. And as we say now, there's a large group. In fact, more people now work on hemorrhage than ischemic stroke within the group. So that was the story. And then the Geoffrey Jefferson focuses on stroke, also dementia. And we work, Adam and myself and others work very closely in dementia, which is another major condition that affects many people. It actually can develop after stroke, including hemorrhage. So about 30% of stroke survivors, be it a hemorrhage or an ischemic stroke, go on to get dementia. So there's strong links there. And then a big focus on brain tumours as well, which is a devastating. Brain tumours kill more people under the age of 40 than any other cancer, and that's very under researched. And movement disorders as well, Parkinson's. So we have several areas we really focus on because we know these areas are important clinically. There's unmet needs, and because Manchester is really good in terms of clinical service in these conditions. So that's why we set the centre up, basically. But stroke is a major part of it.